Welcome to Deep Dive by the Quiet Footnote. Today, we are cracking open a book that, on the surface, looks like one of those dense college textbooks you dread.
Right.
But it reads like, I don't know, an intervention from a scientist who also happens to be a brilliant stand-up comedian. We are diving into Daniel Gilbert's Psychology, the 5th edition.
It's so true. I mean, it is marketed as a foundational text, but Gilbert himself is pretty explicit about it. This book is really a manual for living with fewer illusions.
And more awareness.
And more awareness, yeah. He treats the human mind less like this, finely tuned, rational instrument, and more like, frankly, a wonderfully complicated but very poorly trained puppy.
I love that framing. It's perfect. So our mission today is really to unpack this source material that reveals why, and this is according to Gilbert, 90% of what you think you know about your own mind is an illusion. I mean, if that statistic doesn't make you sit up straight, I don't know what will.
It forces you to confront the central sort of burning problem that Gilbert wrestles with, which is, why do humans, with all our staggering intelligence, still understand ourselves so poorly?
And make decisions that just reliably go against our own best interests.
Constantly, yeah.
The fundamental gap here is this conflict between how we think the mind works, logically, intentionally,
Right.
versus how the mind actually works, which is it's all driven by these quick shortcuts and subconscious needs.
We just assume we're the reliable narrator of our own lives, and the science just keeps politely and relentlessly proving us wrong.
Exactly. His entire project is this kind of quiet scientific rebellion
Yeah.
against the whole idea that humans are rational creatures.
He's basically challenging us, saying, look, your feelings, they're not facts, your beliefs, not truths. Your perception is just.
Yeah.
It's a useful fiction your brain made up to keep you safe and functional.
So let's unpack the intellectual pillars he's using to support this. The concepts that show just how predictable our irrationality really is.
Yeah.
Where does he even start building this case?
The foundation absolutely starts with the seminal work of Kahneman and Tversky on heuristics and biases.
Okay, so the mental shortcut.
The mental shortcuts, the rules of thumb we use every single day. They save time, but they guarantee systematic errors.
And the most recognizable example of that has to be confirmation bias.
Oh, definitely.
It's the brain's tendency to just cherry-pick data.
Yeah.
If you already believe something, you filter your whole reality looking for evidence that supports it.
And you magically ignore everything that contradicts it. It's not about seeking objective truth. It's about seeking emotional comfort.
And that comfort,
Yeah.
that fuels our internal stories.
Which brings us to another pillar he uses, Festinger's cognitive dissonance. That really uncomfortable internal tension you feel when your beliefs clash with your actions.
Or when you learn something new that you really don't want to be true.
Exactly. And we hate that feeling so much, we'll often just change our beliefs or rationalize our past behavior just to reduce the friction.
So instead of admitting we bought a lemon of a car, we convince ourselves that this specific model is actually, vintage or unique.
Yes.
We don't change the facts. We just change the story around the bad decision to make it feel smart.
Precisely. And while we are busy excusing ourselves, we are just as busy condemning everyone else. And that brings us to the fundamental attribution error, or FAE.
Yeah, the classic.
This is the predictable way we explain others' behavior incorrectly, but we defend our own flawlessly.
Oh yeah, when someone cuts me off in traffic, they are a terrible self-centered person. Full stop. But when I cut someone off, it's because I'm having an emergency or I didn't see them or, it was an unavoidable situation.
Right. We excuse ourselves based on situation, but we judge others based on character. It's a fast track to misunderstanding.
It really is.
And to connect all these psychological mechanisms to the, broader reality, Gilbert uses the biopsychosocial model. This isn't just an academic pillar, it's the scaffolding that holds the whole book together.
I found the placement of that model really interesting. It's so easy to just focus on the cognitive biases, but what does the biopsychosocial model add to his argument?
Well, it forces the reader, and you, the listener, to see that these errors aren't just like internal processing failures. They're the result of 3 interacting forces.
Okay.
Biology, which is our evolved brain wiring, the quick emotional response.
Okay.
Psychology, which are the biases and shortcuts we've been talking about. And society, the context, the norms, the pressures we operate in.
So it connects the dots.
Yeah.
When we talk about confirmation bias today, the biological craving for certainty is being fed by the societal pressure of social media algorithms,
Which constantly reinforce what you already believe.
pushing us further and further into that psychological bias.
That's the utility of the model. It ensures the book never just focuses on the brain in a vacuum. It's always the brain in the world. And that context is often what's exploiting our inherent flaws.
Excellent. Okay, let's move to the parts of the book that really hit hardest, where Gilbert just surgically dismantles what I think of as the holy trinity of self.
I like that.
What we remember, what we believe, and what we desire. These three myths form the bedrock of our identity, and he argues they're all deeply flawed.
This is where the quiet subversion gets pretty loud. Let's start with myth number 1. Memory is a reliable recording.
Yeah, the sources are crystal clear on this. Gilbert argues that memory is not a camera, it's a storyteller.
A highly motivated, slightly unreliable storyteller.
Who edits, reconstructs, invents, and erases based on whatever you need right now. It's the concept of reconstructive memory.
It's a devastating concept, really. When you retrieve a memory, you're not just pulling up a pristine file. You are actively rebuilding the past based on your present emotional state, your context, your expectations.
We've all had that experience.
Yeah.
You confidently remember an event, and then a relative proves definitively that you weren't even there. It totally destroys your faith in eyewitness testimony and, more personally, your own autobiographical certainty. It means we aren't protecting memories. We're protecting a story.
A story we tell ourselves about who we are. And he drives this point home with the line, "To learn from experience, we must remember it. And for a variety of reasons, memory is a faithless friend."
So when we rest our convictions on our memories, like thinking we've always been a certain way, we're just resting our whole identity on shifting sand.
Exactly. Which leads directly to myth number 2. We are independent thinkers.
Right. If memory is unreliable, well, maybe our current behavior is at least freely chosen.
And Gilbert says, nope. Humans are fundamentally herd animals wearing crowns. We're just desperate to fit in even when it harms us.
And this is backed by those intellectually devastating studies on social influence and conformity, the famous Milgram obedience studies.
Where ordinary people, not monsters, just regular people, will administer seemingly harmful shocks to strangers just under mild authority pressure.
Or the Asch conformity experiments, where subjects literally ignored what they could see with their own eyes.
And agreed with the group about which line was longest just because they didn't want to be the one outlier.
It's incredible.
They show how easily we betray our own values or even objective reality just because that primal need to belong is so overwhelmingly strong.
We worship this idea of rugged individuality, but the science proves we're far more susceptible to social forces than we ever want to admit.
We are designed for community first and independent thought second.
Which brings us to myth number 3. And this is Gilbert's signature research, maybe the most common folly of all. We know what will make us happy.
Oh, we are just awful at predicting what will make us happy. This is his effective forecasting failure. We suffer from 2 major complementary errors: impact bias and immune neglect.
Okay, so impact bias is when we drastically overestimate how long and how intensely an emotional event will affect us.
Both good and bad.
Right. We think winning the lottery will bring us perpetual joy, or losing a job means eternal misery.
Right, but then our magnificent psychological immune system kicks in immediately, and that's immune neglect. We completely underestimate our incredible resilience.
Our capacity to rationalize and adapt and just return to our baseline happiness level shockingly fast.
It makes our daily striving seem, frankly, a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
We're constantly sacrificing the present for a fictional future happiness that the moment we get it, we'll immediately adapt to it and stop noticing.
And that leads to this profoundly poetic quote he has.
Oh, I know the one.
We treat our future selves as though they were our children, spending most of the hours of most of our days constructing tomorrows that we hope will make them happy.
Which they will likely hate. It just highlights the folly of sacrificing today for a future satisfaction we don't even know how to predict.
Which brings us directly to why this book feels so urgently necessary right now in this age of misinformation and AI. Gilbert's ideas aren't just academic anymore. They're like psychological armor you need to wear.
The urgency comes from the fact that these predictable flaws are being weaponized. We live in a world where algorithms and propaganda are designed to hijack our attention, emotions, beliefs, and decisions.
By deliberately exploiting our need for confirmation and our fear of missing out.
If you don't understand the biases of your own mind, someone else will. And they will use it to control where you look, what you buy, and who you vote for.
That's his clearest warning, isn't it? If If you don't understand your mind, someone else will, and they will use it to control you.
We're seeing a massive identity crisis where identity is just performance. It's exacerbated by social media where the pressure of conformity is dialed up to 1,000.
The Ash and Milgram experiments are running 247 in our feeds.
And globally, we're steering society through emotional reasoning. Fear and outrage spread faster than logic because they're easier to process, they trigger our biases more effectively.
And the inability to see your own fundamental attribution error or your own confirmation bias has become this massive threat to civil discourse.
So, if the science is the diagnosis, what are the best practices? What are the disciplines we can adopt to minimize the damage these flaws cause? How do we actually put these ideas into practice?
Let's distill the wisdom into 5 powerful, actionable shifts. The first one is a way to handle emotional overdrive. Let's call it practice the pause.
Yes. Instead of immediately reacting emotionally to some news or a personal slight, you label the emotion. I'm feeling outraged or I'm feeling attacked. And then you ask one critical, neutralizing question, what else could be true? It stops impulsive conflict and regret cold.
I love that. Okay. Secondly, we have to aggressively combat confirmation bias by choosing to question your certainty.
And don't just ask what evidence supports this. You have to go further. You have to actively seek out intelligent disagreement. Listen to the opposite viewpoint, not to refute it, but to truly understand its logic.
It's the only way to protect yourself from an echo chamber. The third is so liberating. To tackle the effective forecasting failure, stop predicting happiness.
Yes. Instead of basing huge life decisions on what you think will make you happy in 5 years, just choose experiences over predictions. Live experimentally, not defensively. Test things out.
That's crucial. Don't wait for the perfect future self. Just live a little less defensively today. Fourth, given the fluidity of memory and social influence, we have to accept identity is fluid.
And recognize that you are always becoming. You're not a fixed noun carved in stone. Allow yourself to reinvent without guilt or shame. If your beliefs change, that's evidence of growth, not failure.
And finally, to conquer the fundamental attribution error and really improve every relationship you have, observe before you judge.
This one is huge. You replace that immediate critical question, why would they do that? They're so awful, with a more generous, curious one. What story could make this behavior make sense?
That one. That transforms relationships. It shifts the whole narrative from character flaw to contextual pressure.
It does.
That's a powerful distillation. Now, to summarize everything Gilbert wants us to internalize, let's just nail down the 5 core principles he brands onto our minds.
Okay, here they are. The key takeaways. Number 1, your mind constantly deceives you and you rarely notice.
Number 2, memory is reconstruction, not recording.
3, emotions rule decisions. Logic is just a justification engine.
4, humans are terrible at predicting what will make them happy.
And 5, you are not a fixed identity, you are always becoming.
So if that's the overt scientific message, what's the quiet, unheard message? The thing that's kind of whispered beneath the jokes and the data?
I think the whispered message is a simple, insistent command. Wake up. The fundamental truth he's exposing is that your suffering isn't caused by reality itself.
It's caused by the stories your mind creates about reality.
Exactly. The narratives of memory, identity, and desire that we cling to, they are the source of the discomfort.
That just shifts the entire battlefield. It means the liberation we're all looking for isn't external. It's not about getting the raise or finding the perfect partner.
No, it's internal. It's rooted in skepticism of your own thought processes.
Freedom begins by doubting your own mind.
That's it. When you realize that memory is unstable, identity is fluid, and desire is unreliable, you stop being trapped. You're not trapped by the past or the crowd or the future. You become present.
That leaves us with the ultimate question then. If memory, identity, and desire are all exposed as illusions, what's left? What do we do with this difficult knowledge? Does it just lead to cynicism?
I don't think so. I think it leads to clarity and choice and presence. It encourages you to stop sleepwalking through your own life and start living experimentally. So we'd recommend you pick just one practice.
Like practice the pause?
Or the question, your certainty exercise. And just try it this week. See what happens when you intentionally decide to doubt that unreliable narrator in your head.
A wonderful challenge. If you internalize these truths, the world stops being about fixing people and starts being about seeing clearly. And we'll leave you with the quote that reinforces the book's purpose, pulling us right back to that initial promise.
Psychology isn't about fixing people. It's about understanding that there is nothing to fix, only to see.